Bongkrekic acid poisoning, a rare, deadly foodborne illness, strikes diners. This bacterial toxin is odourless, tasteless, and heat stable. Youch! In issue 61, I wrote about a food pathogen you've probably never heard of, Bongkrekic cocovenenans, or more properly, Bongkrekic gladioli pathovar cocovenenans. And in this context, pathovar means a pathogenic variant or strain of the species. And Bongkrekic cocovenenans was formerly known as Pseudomonas cocovenenans. Reminder, while there are hundreds of thousands of species of bacteria currently known to science, there are fewer than 250 bacterial species that cause foodborne illness. Bongkrekic cocovenenans is one of the rare ones. When it grows in food, this bacteria can produce the bacterial toxin bongkrekic acid, which causes abdominal pain, diarrhea, vomiting, weakness, palpitations, and death. Outbreaks have mortality rates of about 50%. That is, half the people who've eaten contaminated foods have died. And here's a not fun fact about bongkrekic acid. It's both a food poisoning toxin and a respiratory toxin. Coconut and corn-based fermented products and rice noodles have been implicated in outbreaks in Indonesia, China, and Mozambique, but such outbreaks are rare. And they're relatively new. The earliest case I could find in the scientific literature was in 2015. Earlier this month, Bongkrekic cocovenenans was linked to a new outbreak, the first bongkrekic acid poisoning event in Taiwan. 34 people were hospitalised, with multiple patients requiring intensive care, and 2 people died. All patients had dined at a Malaysian restaurant, and the food source is thought to be flat rice noodles in char kway teow. In the wake of the event, Taiwanese authorities stressed that local rice supplies are safe and said the pathogenic strain of Bongkrekic cocovenenans had not entered the local domestic agricultural ecological chain. Some counties in Taiwan banned the sale of flat rice noodles in response. While the bacteria is generally believed most likely to produce toxin in fermenting coconut or corn-based foods due to their specific fatty acid profiles, an outbreak in China which caused 5 deaths in 2018 was also linked to commercially produced rice noodles, which were not fermented or noticeably spoiled. Takeaways for food professionals. The main parent species of the bacterial species, Bongkrekic gladioli, is found throughout the world, and it's considered to be environmentally ubiquitous. It's been isolated from corn, rice, onions, palm fruits, soil, and water. The pathogenic strain, Bongkrekic cocovenenans, is also ubiquitous in plants and soil and has been isolated from both developing and developed nations, including the United States, although no foodborne outbreaks have occurred there. High-risk foods are those that contain certain fatty acids that promote toxin formation, including coconut and corn. Fermented coconut tempeh, which is actually called bongkrek, is high risk and its sale is banned in Indonesia. The toxin is produced at temperatures of 22 to 30 degrees Celsius and in foods of a neutral pH. Control methods include the careful control of fermentations, keeping pH low during fermentation, and storing high-risk foods in the refrigerator. In short, a rare pathogenic bacterium, Bongkrekic gladioli pathovar cocovenenans, has caused serious illnesses and deaths among Taiwanese diners via the heat-stable and highly toxic bacterial toxin bongkrekic acid, which is thought to have been present in flat rice noodles. Food poisoning from bongkrekic acid is rare. Fermented coconut and fermented corn foods are most often associated with bongkrekic acid poisoning. And in the email and the post, there is a link to some information for consumers about bongkrekic acid safety, and that is produced by the Singapore Food Safety Agency. And I've got a list of sources, of course, as always, in the email and the post. I've also got a link to issue 61 of The Rotten Apple, where I talk a little bit more about Burkholderia cocovenenans, a food pathogen you might not have heard of. And by the way, if you're loving this podcast, please do share it with your friends and colleagues. More shares helps grow our global community of food safety champions.